Hi everyone, thanks for joining me today on our podcast, Lightwaves. In October of 2022, I sat down with a friend and colleague, Lisa McDennon, an esteemed interior designer and also a designer of lighting for Hinkley. As all podcasts go at some point in time, especially beginners, we have issues when we're self-producing that come up, and my issue in this interview was the first minute and a half had no sound. So where we're going to drop in is kind of in the middle of our discussion about light bulbs and the color temperature of light bulbs and how they affect the way the fixture looks and the way people perceive the fixture and if they like it or not. So when we drop in, that's where we're going to drop in. So I just want to give you some context, and I hope you enjoy the show. Thank you.
Do you have a bulb that you like, a go-to kind of light bulb or go-to style of light bulb?
I tend to, I don't like a harsh bulb. So I guess I'll tell you what I don't like, right? I don't like the harsh bulbs, and I really don't like the Edison bulbs. They tend to be a little bit too rustic for me, and sometimes they come off too yellow. And I feel like sometimes they draw too much attention to the bulb rather than the fixture. And I just want to see the glow of light, right? So there's this one bulb that I tend to do in a lot of chandeliers, and it has like this spun kind of silk look to it. I don't know the name of it.
I don't either.
But it's really cool, and they do offer them obviously in the LED,
Right.
and it's soft. It's not frosted, but it's just like a really soft glow that it gives to the light. Yeah, they're coming out. I mean, they're getting more common.
Right.
I also love the silver tipped bulbs, that kind of give you that look of the old Mercury. Again, so you're not staring right at that light source, because I think it can be really hard on the eyes, and you want the light, but you don't want to be staring at that source.
Right, that's true. And sometimes these filament bulbs, the ones that don't have any kind of a coating on them, they're clear bulbs, it can be glary too. Sure, it's a problem that exists with LED specifically because of the type of filament that they have. I'm getting a little nerdy on it, but this is the reason that we start. Actually, one of the reasons we started this podcast was because there was a lot of confusion about color temperatures now with LED, and also all the different kinds of light bulbs versus integrated lighting. So there's a lot of choices, almost too many, and people get confused. And just everybody from a designer, an architect, all the way down to the consumer are confused about the color temperatures and which one's warmer, which one's cooler, and where they fall, and are they standardized? Is there any way to tell the difference between them? So I think it's kind of trial and error at this point.
Right. And I do know the rule of thumb that we talk about is always going a little cooler in the bathrooms and the kitchens where you need that task lighting. And then you can go a little bit warmer in your living room, bedroom areas. And then for me, it's about kind of giving evenness of light and layers of light, and you do want those temperatures to work well with each other. So when you've got one fixture that's super cool, higher number, it looks off.
Right, it does look weird when you have two different color temperatures in the same room and they're really different from each other, and it's really obvious.
So I have a question for you. Can I ask you a question?
You can ask me a question.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so can we, for example, when we do the LED strip lighting, because of course, we're doing so much of that right now. I mean, it goes everywhere. Do we have the opportunity to buy a LED where you can change the temperature?
Yes. So the technology now is the same tape. One piece of tape can go it varies from company to company, but about 2000 kelvins, which is really warm, kind of like very yellowy orange, all the way to 6000.
Wow.
Where you can like do surgery, so there's a huge range, and the reason they're doing that is it has to do with circadian rhythm, and when you wake up in the morning, you want something that's cooler, you want something that's closer to sunlight, so you're talking about like 4,000 to 5,000 Kelvin, gets you awake and alert. And throughout the day, you need different levels of light. And this started in hospitals, actually in nursing homes, but now it's come to the consumer. And so it's in residential design too. It's more expensive, that tape, because it's actually doing two things, and you need a certain kind of a control for it, because it's, in addition to changing the color temperature, you can also dim it at any color temperature, the same color temperature all the way down to almost 0. So you can literally set it at 3,269 Kelvins and dim it at 3,269 Kelvins.
Amazing.
It really is
Amazing. And so then you can program it. So when you wake up, it's brighter, and then it changes throughout the day.
Oh,
Yeah, which would be fantastic, because as designers, we always want options. We want
Sure.
options, we want flexibility, we want the ability to change things. I mean, dimming. I mean, to me, I think color temperature is going to be today and tomorrow what we used with dimming.
Right. The technology is so advanced now that dimming has incorporated itself into this whole process, and you can play around with it and actually create whatever kind of scene you want for the moment and change it on demand. And there are smart systems that will help you do that. There are all kinds of smart home integration options that let you set your lighting for all various times during the day. You can even do it to what the same as outside. You can program it. Today, I want it exactly like the outside is today, and change it the next day. So it's kind of amazing, though, right? Which gives you a myriad of options. You never have to choose. You or your client actually never have to pin yourself down to one thing.
That's great. I like that.
Yes,
I like that.
Yeah. So I know that you live in Southern California, and you have a store there, and you are also doing interior design, and you're also designing lighting for a vendor. So how did you get into, how did you end up, or how did you find this career path? How did you get here?
Yeah, and so it was a journey. I started off going to a 4-year college at UC Irvine, and I started studying art, and I thought I was going to graduate with an art major. That was my interest. I focused on drawing and painting. And in my sophomore year, I took an architectural drawing class. And so then we started studying design, architecture, perspective drawings. We would go on field trips, we would study buildings, and I literally just fell in love. I just fell in love, and I was like, oh my God, this was so much fun. And so in my the summer between my sophomore and junior year, I ended up working for an architect to figure out whether I wanted to go to grad school or not. And I loved it, but it was interesting when I was there. I was the only girl in the office, which was fine, but all the guys started asking me. They're like, oh, ask Lisa, she's the artist, let her pick the colors that are going to go in the building. Let her, oh yeah, we would have multi-million-dollar buildings with all the reflective mirrored glass on the outside of the buildings, because we were doing big commercial projects. And they were asking the 19-year-old college student with almost no experience, what colors should we pick for this? What would be the stucco? What's this? And then slowly started getting into, well, what about the flooring? And what about then it was the bathrooms. And so then I started picking tile, and here I am, okay, I'm 19, I'm in college, I don't have a degree yet, working on that. And they're sitting at their drafting table doing the boss's work. And I'm over at my table doing all this creative stuff. I'm going to tile showrooms, and I'm meeting with sales reps, and I'm having all this fun. And I'm like, wait a second. I think I really like the interior design, way more than the architect. I just think I would have gotten bored. I just couldn't sit at a desk like that and just draft all day. Although I do love drafting, but they taught me everything. So I'm so grateful. I learned how to draft by hand. I built models, scale models. I studied all about architecture. I understood plans. I drew them, we all drew everything by hand, I created material schedules, so they taught me all the basics, and by the time I graduated my undergrad, then I realized like I was ready, I wanted to go, and I got another 4-year degree in interior design.
So you basically went to med school for interior design.
I love that, yeah, but I do, I unfortunately, I don't have a master's or a doctorate, I just have 2 bachelor degrees.
2 bachelors, you could trade 2 bachelors in for.
That would be nice, yeah.
That's amazing. So you went again, you did a whole another 4 years.
I did.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And same at Irvine?
No, actually, I went to a private interior design school.
Oh.
Luckily, where I live in Orange County, there are actually 2 very good private interior design schools, but I went to the Interior Designers Institute in Newport Beach.
Okay.
And
Yeah, that's a great place to study.
Yeah.
So I had no idea this whole time that you did 8 years of study. That's amazing. That's pretty amazing.
yeah. Mhm.
And then, and you're also designing a lighting collection for a vendor who I'm very familiar with, Hinkley Lighting. And how, so I just want to say to everybody, we will post in our notes some of the drawings that Lisa has done that is in the show. We're at Highpoint right now, the Highpoint Market, and there's some really cool drawings that Lisa that are up on the board that are part of Lisa's process. So how do you get from your inspiration to the final product, and how long does that take, and do things do you change the design in the middle because it's a design change, or how does that whole
How's
thing
it all
work, and
work?
how long does it take?
Yes. So the way, it's always worked with Hinkley is that I present my design ideas, and I typically do it in hand sketch form. And I will do 3-dimensional perspective drawings. I'll do a plan view. I might do elevations, but mostly it's perspective sketching, because I think you get the real essence and the feel and the scale of the piece from creating those renderings. And I will marry those along with some digital format drawings and inspirations. And I usually will present my design concepts paired with inspirations. And so those could be photographs that I've taken along trips, or honestly, it doesn't matter where I am. I could be like walking down the street, like going to my car, and I see something on the ground and I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I take a picture. And then I just kind of have this visual library that, that I reference. So quite often when I'm presenting, I will use some of those inspirational images so that conceptually there's an understanding about where this idea evolved from, and what the idea is behind that. And I think that goes really back to my art background a lot, right? And then from there, Hinkley, the product development team, will decide which of those pieces they want to select to move forward. It's like they become finalists, right? And so yeah, they are. They're all competing against each other.
They really are.
So the finalists then get taken to the next level, which is that they go to CAD for Hinkley. And then they get put into the queue for prototyping. And what we do is we create like a physical prototype. And sometimes the first prototype is perfect. And if the first prototype is perfect and everybody approves, then it actually goes into production. But more than not, there are sometimes, a couple prototypes that you go through, and you were talking about like changes in design. Yes, there are changes in design. And before I started with Hinkley, with my own interior design clients, I was doing a lot of custom work, and it's different. It's really different. And people do ask me, because they're like, what's the difference between doing what you do for your clients and doing a line?
Right.
And
a great question, actually.
So the difference is production. And so you have to think about large scale manufacturing and what might be okay for one fixture in one project for one client isn't going to be okay necessarily for, thousands of pieces.
Right.
And so I've learned over the years that I've been doing it to take that into consideration when I'm designing it. But I try not to lead with that. But I'm always, in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking about how you have to do that because I know that it's going to get modified, right?
Right.
It's gonna happen, but I would rather, I don't want to leave it out, but yeah, so quite often little details have to be either be added or subtracted in order to make it work. And those decisions are done collectively and ultimately, if we decide that it's not gonna work and then it gets shelved and we move on.
Okay, and then you move to the next design.
Yes.
So that process takes like, is it about?
More than that. Yeah, which I was really surprised when Hinkley first told me. They were like, "Oh, congratulations, yeah, we're going to do a collection." And like I was so excited, and I was like, "Okay, well, like how is this all gonna happen?" Like, yeah, I mean, I know for me when I do custom designs, if once I do the design, it takes a couple months, right? So, you can have a custom piece in like 2 or 3 months. It takes actually about 18 months to 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you really have to be then like a visionary in a way to know that this is what's going to be hot when it's released.
That is correct.
Not just when you.
That is correct. And so the thing is, yes, that is the thing. That's always where I'm like, I might be presenting something to them that they've never seen before,
Right.
and then it's like, whoa.
Right.
I always wonder, like, well, how did they get back and what's gonna happen? And so it's, but they're great. They give me lots of freedom and it's fun, and it's really fun when you put something out there and
everybody loves it. And yes.
Well, that's the really good part.
Yes.
And everybody loves it.
We yes,
But
we do. I mean, your collections are right on. I mean, they're if not a little bit ahead of trend, they're on trend. And to know that you've been working on this for 18 months, I want to know what are the lottery numbers, because that's really like, you really have to plan, you really have to know what's coming.
You gotta know what's coming. Yeah. Or for me, that's part of it. Okay. And you hear a lot of people saying like, don't design for a trend because trends come and go, which is true. And so for me, like I have this core, inside of me, which is my compass, right? What's my voice? What do I want to put out there? But a lot of it too comes from what I need too. So
right, which lacking in the
exactly. So what do I need on a project that I'm not finding? And I'll be like, oh, wouldn't it be great to have this? Like for me, wouldn't it be great to have a fixture that is flexible, that I can manipulate, that I could use in a multitude of different ways, or have adjustability, like we talked about with the Kelvin temperature. Wouldn't it be really great as a designer to be able to have flexibility with a particular fixture? I mean, that's what I really love about Hinkley too, is that they have families of design, right? So if you want a big chandelier over a round dining table, they have it. And then if you have a long dining room, well, guess what? You could do a linear, or you could do 2 smaller pendants or that type of thing with the same look. And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, it lets that collection live on and expand. And you, even though you really do, all of your fixtures that are in our collection are unique, yet are classic in a way. Even if it's something that's more modern, there's integrated LED in it, it has a classic undertone. Like it's not somebody's not going to look at it in 2 years and say, okay,
why did I buy that? It never, your collection is not like that. It's almost like a piece of artwork that you keep, because even though it's unique, it's different from everything else, it has a distinct look, it has staying power, it can endure
Oh my
long
gosh.
periods of time.
Thank you very much.
It
Wow.
really
I'm
can.
gonna get all like emotional here. Thank you.
It does. It's hard to choose a favorite piece, because there's different, it spans different styles and genres,
Mhm.
but there's a piece that you or a family that you released recently, that we got to experience. We were putting up in one of our showrooms, and it's called Flora, and it is exquisite, and it feels, when you're hanging it and touching it, it's textural, it's everything that you want your light to be. It's handmade, you don't see the light source, it's sort of tucked in a way, but you got the effect of the light.
Mhm.
We love everything, but that was the last piece that we hung, because that was kind of front and center in our showroom, and I loved that. I loved handling that piece. I loved touching. I kept going back and touching it. And people, when they come into the showroom, they walk right over to it, and they touch it, and they look around it. So you do have a way of, even if that specific collection is a little, maybe leans a little more contemporary, it's so classic, and it's really hard to hold. It's really hard in lighting for anybody to hold that for a long period of time, and except for something that's kind of boring. It's usually boring and universal. It's not unique and cool and art, feeling like a piece of art.
Thank you.
So
Thanks.
you have managed to do that in a large scale project with thousands and thousands of fixtures and maybe a couple of dozen families. That to scale up like that is really unique.
Oh, I appreciate
A lot of people can't do that in their design, and they can't make it happen in their design. So it's pretty amazing. Which is why we love that you are an in-house, you're a guest designer, but you're a forever guest designer. You're a long-term
I hope so.
guest designer. Yes, we hope so too. If anybody's watching, fingers crossed. Anyway, so I just think that's amazing. So 18 months.
I know, see, that is exactly what I did when I found out. I was like, oh, okay. And then they said, and sometimes it can take 2 years. And I was, okay.
It's like
So I thought, okay, well, this is and you know, I remember, you know, Rick Wiedemer, president at the time, you know, we all sat down at the table, and he said, so it's not, you know, a sprint. He's like, it's a marathon, and it's just gonna take time. And he's like, we want to get it right.
That's true.
He said, you know, there's this need there. It's a push and pull. They want to get product to market, right? You want to get it out there, and you want to make sure that if you do have something that's like a hot design, that you know that like that trend, it's like pushing that trend, you want to get it out. But at the same time, you know, that's the beauty of Hinkley, is that they're very meticulous, and they have processes in place to make sure that if they're going to put something out to market, it's going to be 100%. They're going to make sure it's engineered right. They're going to make sure that it's, you know, manufactured right, that it's packaged properly, and all of those kinds, all the things you have to think about.
Right. That's true.
Luckily, a lot of those things I don't have to think about. I just have to think about the designs, you know,
right.
All those things. And so, yeah, I'm blessed that it's such a great partnership.
It's amazing. Yeah, it really is. It has, and continues to be a great run. So I know you're going away for a trip. You have a trip coming up, which is an inspirational trip for you.
Yes.
And can you tell us about that?
Yes, I'm going to be going to Morocco. So I'm very excited. I'm leaving in less than a week. So from Highpoint back to California and off to Morocco for 2 weeks. So
amazing.
Yeah, really a trip of a lifetime.
Yes. And so do you see your camera and you start snapping away?
Exactly.
Do you bring things home with you? Do you buy things there?
Yes. Yes, I was a little bit more conservative in Highpoint this time, which is very, very difficult for me to do because there's so many amazing things here, and I see it, and I have learned the tip here in Highpoint is that if you see something, you buy it. Like you
Right.
because if you go back, it's gone. But so I was like, okay, reel it in, Lisa, like. So, because I knew I was going on this trip, and yes, I am definitely planning on bringing stuff back. I mean, I hope to do that. And I even started planning ahead of time because I said, okay, well, yeah, if I find a few things, then of course we'll just like FedEx them and all that. But I was like, but I might want like more. And if that's the case, can I do like half of the container or so I'm starting to try to plan that now ahead of time so that we can be prepared if I end up finding things. But building relationships, I'm going there to meet with different artists, and I'm going to some different factories and museums. We have architectural tours. Of course, I'm also a foodie, and so is my family. So we're gonna go lots of amazing restaurants and food experiences. And yeah, I have a camel ride.
You're gonna be on Campbell.
I am very excited about that. Oh, trust me, there's gonna be lots of pictures.
Good.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that. Yes, a night in the Sahara. Little glamping, and I don't know. I'm kind of nervous to be in a tent by myself, to be perfectly honest, overnight. But
It's kind of
yeah.
in the middle of the desert. That's brave.
Yes, I know, but life's an adventure.
It is, and when in Morocco, then you
gotta do it.
Gotta do it, exactly. That's gonna be fantastic, and I'm sure you're gonna come back with a ton of inspiration and a ton of textiles and all kinds of interesting things.
I cannot wait. Yeah, I cannot wait. It's always been, I've always really been drawn to, all of their, design and craft. And, we're going to a tile factory. They make amazing tile, carved stone, just like mosaics, and I can't even.
It's gonna be, that's really gonna be amazing. That's gonna be really, that was gonna be a trip of a lifetime. Very cool. So, in closing, what do you see? So obviously you're going to Morocco, you're drawing inspiration from there. What do you think is gonna happen? What do you think the next phase of design, of interior design, will be after COVID and all of these things have happened? We've been locked in our homes. Everyone's now running away on vacation because they sort of can.
Yes.
Do you see and then we're going into sort of a period, I hate to say the R word, but I'm going to say that, a recession, possibly. So with all of that going on, do you see the design going in a specific direction?
Right.
Do you see trends emerging or changes?
I feel like we're just a little bit on the cusp of that, and so I'm trying to get my bearings a little bit that way too, and sort of assess what's going to happen. Because at first I'm thinking, okay, COVID's at bay, people are starting to travel, right? Is design going to get more global?
Right.
Are we gonna go more global? Are we gonna go more, kind of ethnic? And are we gonna, people from the travels? Are we gonna be, design is gonna be influenced? But then, okay, well, we're talking possibly a recession. We're talking possibly about going back to being a little bit more insular, and there's a lot of disruption happening around the world. So are we now kind of going back? I don't know what the answer is yet, but I think that's kind of part of my journey as a designer and an artist, and it's to respond to what's happening and be able to take that response and generate it into something artistic that speaks to it.
Like interpreting that whole everything that's going on in the world, that weight of that into something.
The weight of that actually just 100% transitions into you know, an artistic creation, because it's an expression of, it's a way of expressing. People speak, they write, they paint, they do whatever, you know. I mean, my creative outlet is design. So
That's so cool, and I can't wait to see what you, what's next for you, what happens with your trip and what you find, and hopefully we can do this again another
yes,
time.
that'll be
because
great.
I could talk to you forever, really.
I agree.
All
I
day.
mean, we always chat
Yes.
well,
Yes.
and so we'll have to do, you know, part 2.
We will definitely have to do part 2 after your next trip in
Sounds great.
2023.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lisa. And we're going to put Lisa's information at the bottom, but do you want to tell them where you're located and the name of your
Of
store?
course, sure. So I'm located in Laguna Beach, California. My store is Nuance Home and Lifestyle. And you can also follow me on Instagram, nuance_home, to follow my retail store. And then if you want to follow me, you can follow me at Lisa McDennon. And you know, we have all the websites and all that, but you know, Instagram's kind of it right now. So that is the best way to keep tabs and all the stories. It's
Absolutely.
more current.
It is more current, and she's a really cool store. If you're ever in the area, I actually need to Mecca to your store.
Love
I have
it.
not been there. We're gonna go at the end of the year down to that area, so we're gonna visit. But I follow Lisa and the store and Nuance online, and I always see things that I want.
Yeah,
all the time.
thank you.
On my wish list. So
Thank you. All the goodies are in store for
Yes,
sure.
yes.
And with the holidays coming up, you know,
absolutely.
it's we're in full swing right now.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And safe travels to Morocco.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Thanks everybody for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Hi everyone, thanks for tuning into our podcast, Lightwaves, a deep dive into all things lighting with a side of design. If we've left you wanting more, please hit the subscribe button, or you can follow us on any of your favorite social or podcast platforms. Thanks again.